What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Tech and Tactical. Today I wanted to do a quick look / review on the Kershaw Cryo. I realize that I am 5 years late to the party here, and this knife has been out forever. But sometimes, I find a knife that I didn't maybe pay attention to when it came out, and then it ends up coming back up. And I think it's worthy of a review. Now, this is the regular Cryo, the Cryo 1 or whatever. There are a couple of different variants of this knife. The Cryo 2 is a little bit bigger, and then you've got like a G10 version, where the handle's G10, blackout version, but this is kind of your standard, kind of original Cryo with that titanium. Of nothing on the knife's titanium, but I think they call it it's like a titanium color, on the blade itself and the handle. And this is a Hinderer design. This is my first Hinderer, if you can call it that. Of course, it's a Chinese Kershaw, but it is a Hinderer design, and it's one of these integrals, so it's like one piece, which I think is pretty cool. It's a frame lock, as you can see. Not a lot, it functions the same way as a liner lock, but the part of the frame actually comes over and locks up on the knife. So let's do some quick specs, and then I'll kind of give you guys my thoughts on the knife. All right, so as far as size, the knife is quite small. So blade cutting edge is just over 2.5. And then the blade length, I guess is almost 3, if you want to call it that. Probably more like a little over 2.25. But the overall knife's only 6.5 inches. I mean, this is a small knife. Here's my Mannix, so you can see kind of how big or how small it is. This is a very small knife. In fact, I have a Dragonfly on me as well, which is a really tiny knife. As you can see, the Cryo is not all that much bigger than a Dragonfly, which is extremely tiny. I just did a review on this. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. So yeah, but here's the thing. So it is a small knife, and with that Hinderer design, I think it is actually very, very comfortable. It really does sit nicely, and it is a 4-finger. Your pinky finger actually goes on this little flat spot here. So it is a 4-finger knife. It's not a 3-finger. So there, you do have that advantage. But here's the issue, is the weight. This knife is downright heavy. Oh, you guys can actually see the screen for a change, so I don't have to pick the camera up. So this thing is over 4 ounces. It's just heavy. Here's the Dragonfly you just looked at. Just over 1 ounce. I mean, for its size, it is really quite heavy. I think I've said to you guys in previous, at least, I know I've said to you guys in previous videos that my kind of cutoff, it's not really a cutoff, but my upper end of what's comfortable to carry is about 5 to 5.5 ounces. Anything over that, and you really notice it in your pocket. And generally those types of knives take up additional room and whatnot. But this knife is a really nice compact size, but it is quite heavy. So I'm not loving the weight, but I guess that's what you get when you got all this metal. The whole thing is metal. I think the G10 one might be lighter, and it's kind of thick too. The steel on this is really rather thick. So maybe if they skeletonized or at least milled it out. But again, this is an older knife. They're not gonna, they're not watching reviews on YouTube to see how to improve it. This knife is what it is. So that brings me to price. They are relatively inexpensive. This knife can be found, usually hovers around $30. And I think that you can get it a little less than that too from time to time. So, I think for the price, I do think it's worth it. It is heavy, like I said, but it is a really great little design that fits really nicely in the hand. You know, it's really comfortable to use this little guy. And it cuts really well. So, you know, I think that it does have a lot going for it. You know, your use case for this knife is going to be like EDC, I would imagine. This would be a good knife to keep kind of in your bag that you carry. You know, if you have like an EDC pack, like a backpack, this would be a good knife for that. But it would also be a decent little knife to carry. But with lightweight shorts, this thing drags my shorts down because of the weight. It is a deep carry clip, as you can see. So it does ride relatively deep. And you have an insulated lanyard hole. And Kershaw did one thing very right with this knife. 4-way positionable pocket clip. I don't know why every manufacturer doesn't do this. You know, people carry clips all over their knives in different places. I think they really should all be, like that. This is a speed safe knife, so the deployment is pretty good, but it's good because it's on, you know, it's got a spring, you know, that maintains tension. So, you know, as I said, it does, you know, it does have really good action, I guess, but it's a speed safe, you know, if you're into that. It has a flipper tab that has no jimping, unfortunately, but it also has thumb studs. So if you want to use the thumb studs, you can use those to deploy the knife as well. So deployment's pretty good. Oh, you know what we did? I skipped blade shape. So let's talk about that. So steel blade shape, etc. Your blade shape is like a hyber. Your blade shape's like a saber, like maybe a mid saber with a nice little top swedge. And then I think, yeah, it's hollow ground from the saber down, of course. You got a hollow grind. I think that's why I really was impressed with how slicey this knife is probably that hollow grind. And it goes, you know, it's got a decent choil for sharpening, so good job Kershaw on that. I think it is kind of cool with that top swedge. I think it's a cool design as far as the blade, you know, the blade shape. Kind of this upswept point with the drop point. It's got a little ramp back here, like a little thumb ramp. So I do like the design. So blade steel, it does it not even say it? Okay, it doesn't even say it. It's 8CR13 MOV. So blade steel's kind of crappy, but that's basically what they all are. You know, all of these $20 to $35 Chinese Kershaws, maybe not all of them, but most of them are 8CR13 MOV. It kind of is what it is. 8CR13 MOV, for those that are kind of new to the knife world, it's a budget steel that's inexpensive, and doesn't have that great a corrosion resistance. It's not technically even stainless, although it's not terrible. It's not going to rust on you right away, but if you own an 8CR13 MOV knife and you live in a somewhat humid climate, in a year or two, the knife's going to have little dots on it. It also does not have great edge retention compared to a lot of other of the more modern steels. The one good thing about 8CR, well, there's two good things. First of all, it's inexpensive. But the other good thing about 8CR13 MOV is it takes a really nice edge. So if you're somebody that like enjoys sharpening, you know, for instance, like if I really enjoyed the process of sharpening, I do think it's kind of neat, but it's not something that I really enjoy. 8CR13 MOV might even be a good choice for those people, you know, because you might use the knife and then, you know, throughout the week, and then maybe sharpen it once a week or something, depending on, you know, how much you're doing. It does take a very sharp, very keen edge. So, you know, it's not all bad, but it's certainly not my favorite steel. I would never, if I was designing a knife, even if it was inexpensive, I don't think I would go 8CR unless I was really trying to make it budget. So, yeah, we kind of touched on, you know, we went over use case. I think it could be a decent EDC knife, or because of the weight, maybe a decent little knife to keep in your bag. It is small, you know, so you could kind of put this anywhere, and it should fit. In fact, it'll fit in a fifth pocket. I'll grab the jean. Give me 1 second. Yeah, so here, it does have a deep carry clip, so it does ride once you get it in relatively low, which is nice. But yeah, it'll also fit in the fifth pocket as well. So some people like to carry more than one knife. I personally do. So you could actually kind of fit this. This particular one is very small, but on most of my other pants, this will actually fit the whole way down in there, and then kind of disappear, and then I can carry my other knife on a different place. So carry's pretty good. But it is, again, it's relatively heavy. If you were carrying this in your fifth pocket, like I just showed you, and then another knife in your front right pocket, I think this would just be too much weight, probably. And then this one did come pretty sharp. I've actually been really happy with the Kershaws. I've been, the budget Chinese Kershaws recently. Been really happy with how sharp they're coming. And this one, as you can see, does have some use on it too. So this isn't, and I haven't sharpened it or even touched it up, and it's still that sharp. So it did come screaming sharp. So that leads me to the next thing. This knife is showing a lot of wear. The finish, the blade finish. It's that titanium coating or whatever. I think, again, I don't think there's any titanium in it. I think it's just the color. But you can see that, and that's not from hard use. That's literally from cardboard, or what else have I opened? Cut. I've cut a couple of things, but nothing heavy duty. This knife has never cut. Like, sometimes I test knives by cutting cable wire, wood, all sorts of stuff. This has not cut any of that. This is just like medium to light duty. And that's not coming off either. So I'm not really happy about that coating. It just really seems to be showing a lot of wear. In fact, the coating and the weight of the thing are probably my only two cons. Maybe other than the steel. I do think it's a pretty decent little knife. So for cost value, you guys know that I like to do that. I think the value's there. I think for high 20s. I think last time I looked at this one up, it was like 28 or 29 bucks. I think it's worth it, and I've seen it for cheaper than that too. Like, they go on sale, like Black Friday or whatever. You could probably pick the thing up for low 20s. I think for 25 to 30 bucks, it's a nice little knife. It's just heavy. I think it's relatively heavy. You don't have a whole lot of cutting edge. You don't have a whole lot of size. Compared to some of the other stuff I carry, there's just not a whole lot of size there. But yet it's as heavy as my larger knives are. But I don't mean to sound like I'm trashing this thing on weight. I think that if you really like the design and the way that it feels and functions, I think it's a decent buy. You do have a little bit of jimping up here, but it's not, well, it's okay. It's got decent grip. You do have a open back design. You got your standoffs. There's no back spacer. You do have an over travel stop for the frame lock, so it won't go too far. Also, this is not all. I've had a lot of speed safe knives. This is maybe my, 20 or 30th speed safe knife. And most of them you have to fight the blade the whole way shut. But on this one, I really like it. You can actually kind of half shut it and then finish it off. You're not fighting, it'll actually stay put right there instead of having to fight it the whole way. Like, the Knockout does that too, but some Kershaws, you really kind of got to push them the whole way through, and they're a lot stiffer. This one seems to be pretty, it's pretty easy to use. So, I like it. I think it's a cool little knife. Thanks for coming. Let me do my rating. I said I was going to start doing ratings. I think my initial rating of this would be a 6. I like it. I think it's a decent knife, but when I'm ready to grab my knife and go, this is not like the one that's top of mind. Decent little knife, but it's not like my go-to. So, yeah, thanks again for coming to another episode of Tech and Tactical. Please like and subscribe. I do have a couple more videos coming up here in the next few days, so keep an eye out. And please comment also. Tell me kind of what you think of the channel, what you think of the knife, whatever you want to say, I guess. So thanks again for coming. Later on.